What is up, Dynasty Leaguers? Welcome back into another DLF YouTube channel video. Today's video, we're going to be running through another 2021 12-team SUPERFLEX rookie mock draft. And today, for the first time this season, I am joined by my good friend, Tyler at DLF Karp on Twitter. Karp, what's going on, man?
Not much. Everything's going pretty well. Rookie season, right on the the end of free agency. Now it's time to start looking at those rookies in detail.
Yes. So I am super excited for this. I know I was talking to you a little bit before, but this is the first time that I will be drafting with somebody else, not only this season, but just in general. I did these mock draft videos last year as well, but that was just with the analysts drafting out of one spot. Today, both of us are going to have the chance to talk about some different players. You will be picking out of the 3 spot, 1.03 down to 4.03, and I am grabbing the 9 spot, 109 down to the 4.09, and we're just going to run through a rookie SUPERFLEX mock draft. Should be pretty fun, utilizing the Football Workshop mock draft tool from Andy. So this is a super fun tool. If anybody out there has yet to use that, I definitely invite you guys to go check it out, play around with it, choose your picks. That's one of the new cool features. And then also, he just updated it to allow for 10-team leagues as well. So you can choose a 10-team or a 12-team, choose your own picks, get a lot closer to what your draft might actually look like. So like I said, we're just going to run through this mock draft. And Karp, if you're ready, I'm just going to hit the start draft button. We're going to go.
I'm ready.
Let's do it. All right, so the first 2 picks, pretty typical, I think, to a SUPERFLEX draft. Trevor Lawrence and then Justin Fields, 2 quarterbacks off the board, kind of what I assumed would be the situation for you at 1.03. So you're on the clock, man. What are we looking at?
I mean, I'm really looking at 2 players here. I'm looking at Najee Harris. I'm looking at Jamar Chase. Not really considering any of the other quarterbacks. I would have taken Fields if Fields had been available to me at the 3 spot. I have Fields in a tier above the other quarterbacks, Wilson, Lance, and Mac Jones. So I'll pass on the quarterbacks. I think just based on running back scarcity, I think Najee Harris is going to go in the first round. Running backs are difficult to find. I'm not too concerned about his age. He's going to come in at 23. We can get a few good years out of a running back. That's all we want. I think he's a great prospect. And I'm happy to take Najee Harris at the 103.
Nice. I love it a lot. I think that's going to be probably the biggest decision for a lot of people at the 3 spot. When Lawrence and Fields go, is it going to be Najee or is it going to be Zach Wilson? I think is really going to be the biggest decision for a lot of people. Jamar Chase might slide in as well. But Zach Wilson is getting top 3 overall draft capital type of hype right now. If he goes to the top 3, like if he ends up being the New York Jets pick at 2, does that change your opinion at all?
Probably not. If anything, what it might do is if Fields really falls in the draft, I might go with Harris at 2. I'm not attached to having Fields at the 2nd spot. The only thing I'm really attached to is having Trevor Lawrence as the 101. He's been the 101 in SUPERFLEX for me in this class for, I don't know, 2 years, 2.5 years. I'm not going to be moved off of that. But anything else, if there are significant differences in draft capital than what we're expecting, you got to keep an open mind. The rookie drafts are after the NFL draft for the most part for a reason. And, if there are changes, you got to be open to those changes.
Absolutely. Yeah. I love it. I don't think we really need to talk about Najee Harris specifically.
No, not.
I think that's a pretty easy one.
Yeah.
I don't know. He didn't run in his pro day today. I don't know if you noticed that. We're recording this a little earlier, so Alabama's pro day was today. So he didn't run his pro day. He missed his flight got canceled.
Well, that's not his fault, but the flight was canceled. But no. I don't think I need to see Najee Harris run at the pro day. No. I don't think NFL teams need to see Najee Harris run at the pro day. I don't think there's really any question who for NFL teams is the RB1 in this class. So I don't think it's going to make any difference.
I think his 40 would have been interesting in terms of if he ran slower than what we expect. I think most people have him as a mid 4.5 guy, just because of how big he is. But like if he were to run like a 4.65, I feel like that would be a little questionable. So it might actually be better to leave it to the imagination.
Yeah.
In terms of what he runs. I
agree. It's probably not a good business decision for him to run anyway. So he can only lose from it.
Exactly. Yep. All right. So we can move on here. I'm up at the 1.09 and looking at this whole entire list, the rest of the picks between yours and mine was Zach Wilson at the 1.04, then Jamar Chase, Travis Etienne, Trey Lance, and Rashad Bateman. I think at the 1.09 post draft, I think we could see a lot of people going the Mac Jones route if he ends up being a top 10 overall pick. I've been saying for a while now, actually, that if he ends up being like the Carolina Panthers pick at 1.08, I really, really like that. And I think that would bump him up into this mid to late round first area. And I think that would be something to monitor moving after the draft, just because of the weaponry. I believe in Mac Jones as a player, not like as a top tier quarterback player, but like if he's Kirk Cousins with DJ Moore and Robbie Anderson and Christian McCaffrey, like, we're pretty solid there. So that would, I at least wanted to make a note of that one. I think a lot of people would really be interested in all these wide receivers here. You kind of get your pick of the litter after Jamar Chase and Rashad Bateman, a lot of awesome names. I think Kyle Pitts would also be in strong consideration, but I'm going with my running back as well. I'm going to join in with you, Karp, because I think there's a huge drop off after my RB3 in Javonte Williams out of North Carolina. And so I just really, really, really like what Williams has and is bringing to the table coming out of North Carolina. Analytically, he looks very strong, a potential 8 out of 8 guy in my personal running back markers. And like I said, I think it's just that drop off from Javonte down to even Kenneth Gainwell as my RB4, I think is just as big as my drop off from Devonta Smith to potentially this wide receiver that I might get at the 2.09, depending on how the rest of this draft falls. I don't know if you feel the same way.
Yeah. Oh, it's bigger. It's a bigger drop off. To me, there's really only 3 running backs in this class that I really want, which is interesting now that I'm up. So it's probably giving away that I won't be selecting a running back for this pick, especially since Gainwell, who just went the pick before me, is my RB4. So even any consideration of that, just a running back just went out the window. I think here, just looking at what's available, there's a couple of receivers that I kind of have in a tier along with some of the guys that went, including Rondell Moore, who went at the 201. I think I'm going to go with
sub 4.3 Rondell Moore.
Yes, I like that. It could. Hey, if he gets that first round draft capital, I'm going to be all in. Especially if it's earlier in the first round. Every pick matters. I mean, that shows that a team was willing to invest significant capital. So anyway, as for this pick, I'm speaking of draft capital. I'm going to go with Jalen Waddle. I think he's going to be a first round pick in the NFL draft, almost for sure. It seems like that's just a guarantee. And at this point, we're in the second round of a rookie draft. Taking a receiver, I think, is going to get first round draft capital. Went to Alabama, has speed. He didn't really break out. The analytics doesn't really love him. But it's hard to turn down someone who could be a top 15 NFL draft pick in the early second round.
Yeah, especially someone as explosive and dynamic as Waddle. I mean, you're talking about ceiling in this class. Waddle is up there with Chase Smith, higher than Rondell Moore, probably higher than Rashad Bateman, even though I think Bateman's safer. Yeah.
Bateman is one of those high floor players for me.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I really, really like Waddle, and especially the rest of these wide receivers. I think those are the 5 wide receivers that get first round capital with Chase, Bateman, Smith, Rondell Moore, and then Jalen Waddle. And if you're able to get that last first round receiver, not only as the last receiver taken in the draft, but also at the 2.03, I think that's, a pretty solid bet, both, incorporating his risk, but then also, shooting for that upside there compared to the other wide receivers that you would be getting after him, like Diami Brown, Elijah Moore, Amon-Ra St. Brown, even the guy that I'm going to end up taking here. So I really like that pick for you.
Fine.
Awesome. So my pick here at the 2.09 was pretty easy, and I was actually hoping that I was going to get this pick whenever I picked Javonte Williams at the 1.09 and passed up on a lot of the other wide receivers. I don't know if this is like the ADP that's going on right now, or if this is like the mock draft tool that I know incorporates ADP from other mocks that were also run on this as well. So it's kind of like self-learning. So I don't know why Tylan Wallace is this far down. Maybe that I'm just a lot higher on Tylan Wallace than a lot of other people. But I mean, this dude was as electric and explosive and productive in college at Oklahoma State as any other wide receiver in this class. I mean, he was a runner-up Biletnikoff Award winner in 2018 in his sophomore year behind Jerry Jeudy. The dude was like basically a perennial 1,400-yard receiver and on pace for that in his junior and senior seasons in 2019 and 2020. I think one of the biggest knocks on him is that he is a 4-year college player, that he did have that ACL injury. I've seen a lot of people linking that ACL injury to his twin brother, saying that he is more susceptible to them because those can kind of be genetic. And his brother had 3 ACL injuries that caused him to stop playing football. So I don't know if that's kind of all baking into it, but I think Tylan Wallace is like a top 45 overall pick in the NFL draft. And so if you can get him at 2.09 and, you know, get that discount on him versus all the other wide receivers above him, I mean, I don't really know how you can pass that up.
Well, it just goes to show that there's so much wide receiver depth in this class. There's a lot of players that I think we've already had so many receivers go, and I'm probably going to add to that group of receivers here.
You're going to take them. You're going to take them. You're going to make me talk about them, aren't you?
Yeah. Well, I don't know who you're referring to, but I am going to take Kadarius Toney. I don't know if that's who you're referring to. Yeah. I just, I don't like. I think he's gotten a significant amount of buzz in the NFL process. I think he's going to be a relatively high draft pick. If he's not, I'm probably going to regret that pick. But I do think there's a good chance he goes in the first 2 rounds. And if he goes in the first 2 rounds, I'm going to be really happy at this point in the 303. We're starting to get into the players. It was a different college season. There wasn't as much information. There was no combine. So you're starting to get, for someone like me who isn't necessarily a Devi analyst, we're starting to get into the players where there's more limited information. And, I want to try to get players that if we're drafting now, players that are going to get draft capital that could vault their value up the board. And that's really the main reason why I decided to go with Toney at this point.
Yeah. I mean, absolutely. The draft capital argument is there for Toney. And if he ends up being a first round pick or even a high second, I don't think you're getting him in the 3rd round.
Oh, no, for sure not. Yeah, not if you get that capital.
No, I think he'll be much more up closer to even after Jalen Waddle in the mid-second, probably. I guess it's hard to really knock a 3rd round pick.
Yeah, that's kind of where we're at, right?
Right. Because I talked about him in my 2nd rounders video, saying about how I'm kind of scared of his profile. He's like a 21-year-old breakout wide receiver, which historically is not great. Only like a 1% hit rate, basically on 140 something wide receivers.
It's not good. I'm aware of that.
Yeah, but I mean, we're talking about a 3rd round rookie pick here.
Yeah.
And when you look at the other wide receivers,
he was the only one left that I really felt. I mean, some of these guys who were taken after him, they could be 4th or 5th round picks. I mean,
right.
I just don't think there's any world that, and we can always be wrong. Remember Hakeem Butler? We were very wrong about that. He ended up being a 4th round pick, and we all thought he would be a 1st or 2nd rounder. But so that's always possible. But I just don't see the world in which Kadarius Toney is a day 3 pick. Whereas I feel like anyone else I could have taken had a good chance of being a day 3 pick. And then I'm just not going to be interested really in someone who's a day 3 pick.
Yeah. No, yeah, that's in my opinion, that's a great process, at least at this point, pre-draft.
Yeah, I personally, I do all my my rookie drafts after the NFL draft. I think that's just personally when I prefer to do them. But if you're drafting now, one of the ways you can get the biggest edge is by being right about what the draft capital will be, if that makes sense.
No, yeah, absolutely. Yeah, that's where your research now will play a lot better for you if you're doing your drafts pre-draft. And then even post-draft, if you're doing your research now and you're watching these videos and you're learning from all this information and you kind of take it all in, that helps you after the draft as well too, because maybe somebody in the NFL draft slides, or maybe somebody gets, boosted up that really doesn't deserve to be, or kind of all these different situations. You can take that pre-draft information and apply it and kind of, adjust from there. So
exactly. And also if you're not watching Addison's videos on YouTube, they're all still there. I suggest going back and watching all of them. There are videos, specific prospect videos on each player in the first round. Go watch all of them. I think they're about 15, 20 minutes each. Watching the whole series will maybe take you like an hour or two over, the next month. Believe me, I think you'll find that it'll be an hour or two well worth spent on that.
And now you see why I brought on Karp, because I'm paying him to just
I do like to promote the work of our team. I'm not going to lie.
All right, so back to the draft here, 3.09. This is kind of a tougher decision. I would have liked to have seen one of the tight ends get back to me. That would have been a really easy pick. Oh boy, there's a lot of this wide receiver class there, and this could change so quickly with the NFL draft. But one guy that I highlighted kind of quickly in my video, and also has a pretty solid analytical profile, is Tutu Atwell out of Louisville. So I'm going to go ahead and go with Atwell here. I don't have my database pulled up. I probably should have, but I think he has like a 19-year-old, 30% breakout age. He had a very solid sophomore season. And then 2020 only played like 7 games because of COVID. So just kind of like everybody else, didn't really have as much of an opportunity to put up counting stats. But at least that sophomore production was there for Atwell. And I don't know what kind of draft capital he's going to get. Probably 4th round if I had to peg him at where I think he might end up going. And so at this point, I think it was between Atwell, Terry, and Amari Rodgers. Like literally those 3 wide receivers who all went off the board.
The three that went right in a row. Yeah.
Right.
I was hoping that somehow Amari Rodgers would make it to me.
Yeah.
Because those 3 were also 3 receivers that I was considering in the order of Terry, Rodgers, and then Atwell for me. But they were the next 3. And then after that, I wasn't so interested in any more receivers. I was also a little disappointed that Ramondre Stevenson didn't make it back to me. He would have been my selection at running back. So now we're starting to get into players that not players that I have a lot of expertise on, but I do see a name that I know had a significant amount of hype in the past. I know that there are a lot of question marks surrounding this player, but I'm hoping that somehow what we saw, maybe a little bit longer ago and before all of the red flags and issues and other stuff that happened this year came up. And I'm going to go with Kylan Hill.
Oh, all right. I don't think I've talked about him at all. So if you want to take it away, you have the floor.
Yeah, people haven't really been talking about him. I mean, we all know kind of what happened. He didn't really do all that much this season, but he had a huge 2019, and I'm just hoping that the NFL looks more at that and looks back at the rest of his career instead of looking at kind of all the stuff that happened in 2020, because it was a crazy year. And, I just kind of, when someone had that much hype, it's the fourth round, it's a running back. There's just more upside in taking a running back at this point than taking a wide receiver. I mean, like, just looking at it really quick, like he had 1,350 yards and 10 touchdowns in 2019. I don't think he just forgot how to play football. There were a lot of circumstances that happened this year that weren't in his favor. And, it's hard. What am I going to do in the fourth round other than maybe if he becomes that breakout running back, I can just turn around and maybe sell him for a second round pick later on and just get a better prospect in next year's class if it hits. This is kind of my thinking there.
Well, he initially opted out, right?
But then he opted back in, right?
Yeah.
He opted out and then in and then out, I think. Sure.
He played in 3 games last year.
He did 3 games, but he opted out, then he opted in, and then he opted out. But again, like there are stories like that this season. He's not the only player who opted out, opted in, and then opted out. Multiple players did that. There are players that opted out of the entire season who didn't. Jamar Chase, for example, he didn't play this season at all. But people are still selecting him as the wide receiver 1. So it's going to be a different process this year. It's just different. This is what the pandemic did to our rookie process. We have to accept that there are going to be some things that we kind of have to weigh a certain way that we've never had to do in any previous year. So It's just keep it all in mind. And again, in the fourth round, I want upside. I think that there's a possibility I could get that with Kylan Hill. So that's what I went with.
Yeah. I mean, I like it a lot. I haven't really talked. I haven't mentioned him at all. I mean, you said 1,350 yards and 10 touchdowns in 2019. And then never really showcased the receiving aspect of it, at least statistically. But in 3 games last year, he had 23 receptions.
Which is also super bizarre that he had 23 receptions and 15 carries. Yeah. Like, he had 242 carries and 18 receptions in 2019. So I don't know what happened there.
In 2 of his 3 games, he had more receptions than rush attempts.
Yeah, that's just so bizarre. Because 242 carries for a college back is workhorse level. That's like over 13 games. What is that? 18 carries a game or so? Like that's. I mean, I'll take a running back in the NFL who's getting 18 carries a game. I want that guy on my team. I want 18 carries. So I don't know. I don't know what happened to have 23 receptions and 15 carries. It's very odd, but we'll see. Yep.
Hey, we're shooting dart throws.
That's true. Right now. Total dart throws at this point.
So I like that Kylan Hill pick. Another name to kind of add to that 4th round list of guys to kind of pay attention to and guys to pay attention to near the end of the NFL draft as well. I'd imagine he's a day 3 guy. So
I would think, I'm hoping for 4th round. Fourth round would be nice. Hopefully he doesn't go the Eno Benjamin route and end up in the 7th round. That would be bad.
So here, 4.09 to close out at least our portion of this draft. My boy Elijah Mitchell got taken at 407, which was kind of annoying. But I guess to talk about somebody else other than Elijah Mitchell for once, I could go with another guy that I was talking about before. I think I'll do that. I think I'll go with Kellen Mond.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Interesting.
He's being talked about as a 2nd round quarterback.
Really?
Yeah, I've seen 2nd round hype for Kellen Mond. For Washington or New England, that kind of like team that kind of needs a quarterback, has a bridge 1-year guy right now, but could be a swing for the future like Jalen Hurts was last year.
That would be, I haven't, maybe I'm a little bit behind on Kellen Mond, but I haven't.
Let me look at it.
Yeah, I haven't been hearing that. I've been hearing a lot of Kyle Trask going in the second round, and also I think Kyle Trask went very early in this draft, way earlier than I would have selected him, because to me he's a big departure from the top 5. But yeah, I haven't heard too much about Kellen Mond going in the second. That would be, if he went in the second, I would have to move him up my board significantly. I didn't have him in my 4 rounds of players I would have taken at all. Based on the assumption that I figured he would be a day 3 pick. But if he's going to be a second round pick, then he's at least going to be in the 3rd round for me in SUPERFLEX leagues.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it was because he was a huge Senior Bowl riser. So I think, and it might have been like that really reactionary post Senior Bowl hype that put Kellen Mond into the 2nd round. Because I've seen more recent ones where he's like a 4th round guy, 3rd round guy, kind of.
Well, if he goes in the 3rd, I would be somewhat interested. But if it's day 3, it's day 3 quarterbacks. I mean, how many have really ever hit? Dak Prescott, Tom Brady, like those are the 2 big ones that come to my mind. Who really like hit big? Kirk Cousins, another one.
Oh, it's funny that the mock draft that had him in the 4th was to Minnesota, and then you said Kirk Cousins.
Yeah. Oh, and I like that landing spot. That's the kind of thing you have to do as an NFL team. You should always be looking at improving the quarterback position, especially if you don't have to spend a lot on it. I mean, a lot of these teams spend $6 million on a backup. If you draft someone with upside in the 3rd or the 4th round, it's not going to kill you. Don't do what the Packers did and trade up for Jordan Love in the 1st, but you know, why not spend a 3rd or 4th round on a backup quarterback? There's no problem. There's no problem with that. Yeah,
and I could easily just see this also being Sam Ehlinger as well. Both these guys are like the Jacob Eason of last year, where there was like that possibility. You know, Eason went to the Colts, and everybody was like, "Well, Rivers really only has 1 more year," and we were all right. And so there was like that possibility that maybe Eason showed out in practice, and they gave him the shot to start or at least compete. And so that would kind of be the hope and the upside for guys like Kellen Mond and Sam Ehlinger, who I think are both worthy 4th round draft darts as much as anybody else.
Yeah, it's just they picked a brutal quarterback class to come out in with 5 clear 1st round talents, and then Kyle Trask, who is a worthy 2nd round pick. I mean, at that point, they're already the QB7 and beyond in the class. If they were coming out in a different year, I think they would be more likely to be 2nd round picks. But by the time we get around to them, 6 teams will have already filled some of their quarterback issues with quarterback. So it does kind of hurt their prospects in that way.
Right. Just really depends on the situation. We got some teams with older quarterbacks on their way out. As a Steelers fan, I wouldn't mind a redo.
You are a Steelers fan. Yes, the Mason Rudolph and Dwayne Haskins experiment could use an improvement. I think they could use a different potential quarterback of the future to replace Big Ben. That, to me, that would be a great landing spot for any of the guys we've discussed, or Kyle Trask, to include him.
Or Kyle Trask.
Well, I mean, Kyle Trask, to me, the other 5 are starters. You know, everyone from Trask down is coming in as a backup. So anyone in that conversation would be a great landing spot. I'd be happy. They'd have a clear path to a starting job in 2022.
Absolutely. So I think we did it. I think we did it.
I love this. I'm learning.
So your rookie
drafts are, I haven't done very many yet. So
dude, I'm telling you,
my first.
If you can hop on this mock draft tool from Andy, it's absolutely amazing and really fun to just go down and give yourself some shots. And it kind of also helps you even out your rankings as well, and like your own personal opinions on these players, because you could be like, man, I really like Dyami Brown, but like if you don't end up taking Dyami Brown over some of the other players and stuff, you might not like him as much as you think you do, and so this can all kind of help really smooth out those edges as we approach the NFL draft in your own personal opinions of these players.
And the tool will also remind you that every draft is different. I mean, if you looked at our draft, it didn't go exactly as the ADP number on the right would have suggested. There were deviations and picks that were different. And I think that that's good. It reminds you that, you know, just because you were able to get a player at, I got, say, Jalen Waddle at the 203 in this one. Well, if we did the simulation again, maybe Jalen Waddle wouldn't be there at the 203 the next time. You never know. So you want to do a bunch of these to kind of really get an idea of, okay, how likely is it that the player I want is going to be there? Is it a 50% chance? Is it a 75% chance? A 25% chance? And then if you really want that player, you know, maybe you're going to have to trade up. But, you know that coming in. It's a great tool to kind of think about that kind of stuff in advance.
Absolutely. Yeah. So just to quickly run down your team out of the 103, Najee Harris, Jalen Waddle, Kadarius Toney, and Kylan Hill. My team out of the 109 was Javonte Williams, Tylan Wallace, Tutu Atwell, and then Kellen Mond. So two very solid groupings of players, I think, at their respective draft positions. And I don't think there's much more to say. We can just kind of close this one out. Karp, let the people know where they can find you, what you're working on, or what aren't you working on?
Yeah, so you can find me on Twitter at DLF_Karp. I've been writing a bunch of articles. I don't have like a specific topic that I write about. I write a lot about player breakdowns. I do some general strategy work. And I also do some lighter toned article. I did some about kind of how to have some basic tips in your Dynasty league, kind of focused on how to have fun. Because, you know, it's Dynasty. It's supposed to be fun. Fantasy football is supposed to be fun. So it's kind of, you can find everything. It'll all come through my Twitter. So if you just follow me on Twitter, anything I do will come through there.
Fantastic. And to all you guys out there, I would remind you about the Dynasty DLF draft guide, the startup draft guide. It's a 140-page PDF document. You can get it for 100% free if you are a DLF premium subscriber, or you can go to dynastydraftguide.com and purchase the PDF as a stand-alone value. So 2 different ways to get that PDF document. There's a lot of information, and we're updating it. Actually, currently, we are working on the updates for a post-free agency update to talk about all the new players that moved, didn't move, how that affects some dynasty values and stuff like that. We'll also have another one after the NFL draft as well, and a rookie guide that comes with it too. So you guys definitely want to get your hands on all of that information to help dominate your startup drafts, your rookie drafts. More of these videos like this. Subscribe to the DLF YouTube channel for this type of content, for other player content, for trades, for Mannequin Chill, for Commissioner Chronicles. You might also see Karp popping up here and there more. There you go. On the YouTube channel. So thank you all so much for tuning in, and we will catch you guys next time.